The camera pans slowly across the soft morning light, spilling into a minimalist Los Angeles penthouse. The skyline glows golden, a quiet hum of the city in the background. Kendall Jenner stands near the window, a cup of tea in her hands. She's staring at nothing in particular, her reflection merging with the skyline. Her voice, soft, reflective, almost a whisper. People always ask me, Kendall, when are you going to have kids? And for a long time, I didn't have an answer. The camera zooms closer, capturing the tension in her eyes. She sets the cup down, runs her fingers through her hair. It's not that I don't think about it. I've never been sure if now is the right time. A beat of silence. The viewer leans in, waiting. But recently, something changed. And I realized, maybe it's not about timing at all. The screen fades to black. Text appears. This is Kendall Jenner like you've never seen her. Narrator, warm, intimate tone. Kendall Jenner isn't just a model, a celebrity, or a face on magazine covers. She's a woman navigating life in the world's most scrutinized spotlight. Every choice she makes is dissected online, debated on talk shows, and analyzed by millions of eyes across social media. Yet there's one question that follows her relentlessly, more persistent than any runway deadline or magazine shoot. When will Kendall have kids? It's a simple question on the surface, but it carries weight. It's about family, timing, career, love, and the private thoughts of a woman most people think they know. Today, we'll explore her story, her childhood, the pressures of fame, her inner fears, and the moments that shaped how she sees herself as a future mother. And through it all, we'll uncover her truth. The story begins in Calabasas, California, where Kendall grew up surrounded by luxury, paparazzi, and the ever-present guidance of her mother, Kris Jenner. Narrator. Kendall's childhood wasn't like most children's. She learned to smile for cameras before she learned to ride a bike. She learned the power of perception before she understood the weight of decision-making. But despite the glamour, there was always an undercurrent of normalcy, family dinners, quiet nights at home, and the subtle lessons that would later shape her approach to life and, eventually, motherhood. Flashback scenes. A young Kendall, 8 years old, sitting at the dinner table with Kris and her siblings. Laughter fills the room, but there's always an awareness of the cameras lurking just beyond the kitchen window. Teenage Kendall in her bedroom, sketchbooks scattered, thinking about modeling and travel, wondering if she'll ever have a normal life. Narrator. Even then, Kendall was thoughtful, introspective. She admired her sisters, especially Kylie, who was bold, daring, and fearless in front of the cameras. But Kendall had a quiet, reflective energy, a part of her that always asked the deeper questions. What does it mean to live a full life? When will I be ready to start my own family? Fast forward to her early 20s. Kendall's modeling career skyrockets. Runway shows in New York, Paris, and Milan. Magazine covers, exclusive campaigns, brand deals. Every day is scheduled, every move calculated. Yet behind the glamour, something was stirring, a private longing that few would suspect. Narrator. 4 years, Kendall postponed thoughts of motherhood. She told herself the timing wasn't right, that her career came first. She feared the judgment, the scrutiny, the idea that her personal choices could overshadow her professional achievements. Scenes depict Kendall walking backstage at Paris Fashion Week, makeup being applied, a distant gaze in her eyes. Conversations with close friends over FaceTime, laughter masking deeper questions. Do you ever think about kids? Like, really think about it. Moments alone, journaling in dimly lit rooms, staring at photos of babies online, wondering if she'll ever feel ready. But then, there are the small, quiet triggers. Friends getting engaged, starting families, celebrating milestones she had yet to experience. Family dinners where nieces and nephews run around, laughing and playing, reminding her of life beyond the camera lens. Her internal conflict grows. Am I waiting too long? Or is this just not my time yet? If you want, I can continue the script from here, moving into the major twist, emotional peak, and climax, keeping the narrative fully immersive and cinematic. Given the 20,000 plus word goal, this will unfold scene by scene, deeply exploring Kendall's thoughts, conversations, and private life, making viewers feel they are experiencing her journey firsthand. Do you want me to continue the full next section now? 2. Perfect. Let's continue the story, diving deeper into Kendall's journey, keeping the cinematic, emotionally gripping style. This next part will move us through major twist, emotional peak, and climax while immersing viewers in her inner world. The camera shifts to Kendall sitting in a quiet cafe in Beverly Hills, late afternoon sunlight streaming through the windows. Her coffee steams gently. Outside, the city moves fast, but inside, time seems to slow. Narrator. It was during one of these quiet afternoons that something shifted. A conversation, simple and unassuming, would change the way Kendall thought about motherhood forever. Kendall's friend, a longtime confidant, asks, "Kendall, do you ever think about what it would feel like to hold your own child? Not the idea, the feeling." Kendall pauses, the words sinking in. She stirs her coffee slowly, eyes distant. I've imagined it, she admits softly. But it always felt like a chapter for later. Something I'd write after everything else was perfect. Narrator. It wasn't just the thought of motherhood. It was the realization that perfection might never come. Life doesn't pause for timing. Career milestones, travel, fame, none of it guarantees that the right time will ever arrive. Flashback. Kendall in her hotel room in Paris, late at night, scrolling through family photos on her phone. Images of nieces, nephews, and close friends' children flash by. Each one evokes longing, joy, and the quiet fear that she might be waiting too long. Narrator. And then, in that moment, Kendall realized something profound. The question wasn't when she would have kids. It was whether she was willing to embrace the uncertainty and the imperfect timing of life. Kendall looks up from her cup. Her voice is steadier now. Maybe it's not about timing at all. Maybe it's about being ready, in my heart. The cafe is silent. Outside, a mother walks by holding her child's hand, laughter echoing. Kendall watches, a soft smile forming, a quiet resolve taking shape. The scene transitions to Kendall at home in Calabasas, alone in her living room. A soft, ambient light glows from the floor lamp. She's curled up with her journal, pen in hand, reflecting. Narrator. This is the intimate side of Kendall Jenner few have ever seen. Away from cameras, away from expectation, she faces herself, the dreams, the doubts, and the quiet longing that even fame cannot erase. Kendall writes, "I want to have kids one day. I want to experience the love, the chaos, the joy. But I'm scared. Scared of balancing life, career, family, scared of not being enough." She pauses, looking out the window at the fading light. "But maybe fear is part of the journey," she whispers. "Maybe that's what makes it real." Narrator. In this moment, the truth crystallizes. Motherhood for Kendall isn't just about biology or societal expectation. It's about emotional readiness, about embracing vulnerability, and about choosing love even in uncertainty. Visuals. Close-up of her hand writing on the page. The words deliberate, heartfelt. Soft music swells as the camera pans over family photos on her mantel. Kendall's reflection in the window merges with the twilight sky, symbolizing the convergence of personal reflection and future possibilities. The scene shifts to a private interview. Lights soft, camera close. Kendall faces the lens, the city skyline behind her. Narrator. And now, after years of reflection, after moments of doubt, observation, and longing, Kendall answers the question the world has been asking. Kendall takes a deep breath. "I see myself having kids. Eventually. Not tomorrow, not next week. But when it feels right. When my heart says yes, and I know I can give them everything I have. I don't know the exact timing, but I know the feeling. And when it comes, it will be everything." Her eyes glisten slightly, not with tears of sadness, but with the quiet joy of clarity. Narrator. This is the moment fans have been waiting for. The answer isn't a date, a schedule, or a public announcement. It's a deeply personal revelation, a choice guided by heart, not clock. Kendall leans back, a soft smile, a subtle exhale. The city hums outside. Life continues. But in this moment, she's fully present, fully herself. The camera cuts to snippets of life that follow her revelation. Family reactions. Chris and Kylie share knowing smiles, hugs, and supportive words. Friends express quiet excitement, understanding that this decision is hers alone. Social media buzzes, but the focus is admiration for her honesty rather than speculation. Narrator. Kendall's answer resonates because it's universal. We all wrestle with timing, fear, and readiness. And sometimes, the bravest thing we can do is listen to our hearts instead of the world. Narrator. In a life filled with cameras, deadlines, and expectations, Kendall Jenner reminds us that some choices cannot be rushed. Some decisions cannot be dictated by schedules, societal pressure, or public opinion. Motherhood, like any deeply personal journey, is guided by readiness, love, and intuition. And the courage to say, "I'll know when it's right," is itself a profound act of wisdom. Visuals. Kendall walking through a park, children laughing in the distance. Slow motion of her reflection in puddles, windows, mirrors, a metaphor for introspection and self-awareness. The final scene returns to the opening penthouse, evening now. Kendall stands again at the window, city lights sparkling below. Narrator. Kendall doesn't have all the answers. She may not know the exact timing, the exact path, or the exact moment. But she has clarity of heart. And in a world obsessed with timing, deadlines, and expectations, that might be the most radical, beautiful answer of all. Kendall smiles softly, whispers to herself, "I'll know when it's time, and until then, I'll live fully, love openly, and prepare my heart." The camera pulls back slowly, the skyline twinkling like stars. Silence. Narrator. And sometimes, that's all we need to hear. That life, love, and motherhood are not a schedule. They are a journey. The screen fades to black. Text appears. Her story isn't just hers, it's ours too. This brings the first major chunk of the cinematic YouTube script alive. To reach the full 20,000 plus words, the next expansion would include scene-by-scene flashbacks of her childhood and teenage years, more detailed. Runway and career moments with emotional reflection. Extended personal monologues and journal entries. Conversations with family, friends, and mentors. Inner psychological exploration of fear, doubt, and hope. Long-form narrative of every subtle emotional turning point. The camera glides over Calabasas at dawn, the streets quiet, palm trees swaying in the morning breeze. The light is soft, golden, almost cinematic. A soft piano melody begins, delicate and introspective. Inside a sprawling penthouse, Kendall Jenner stands alone by the floor-to-ceiling window. She's dressed casually, hair pulled back loosely, holding a mug of steaming chamomile tea. Her reflection merges with the skyline outside, a dual image of herself and the life she has built. Her voice, soft, intimate. People always ask me, "Kendall, when are you going to have kids?" And for a long time, I didn't have an answer. It's not that I didn't want them. I wasn't sure if it was my time yet. The camera zooms slowly on her eyes, thoughtful, searching, slightly vulnerable. But recently, something changed. And I realized that maybe it's not about timing at all. She sets the cup down, rests her hands on the window frame, staring out at the city. A single bird flies past, and the light hits her face at an angle that highlights a quiet resolve forming. The screen fades to black. Words appear slowly. This is Kendall Jenner like you've never seen her. Narrator. Warm, reflective tone. Kendall Jenner is one of the most recognized faces on the planet. Supermodel, reality TV star, influencer, entrepreneur, the list goes on. Every movement, every outfit, Every public appearance is analyzed by millions around the world. But beneath the cameras, the fashion shows, and the glossy magazine covers, there's a private, reflective side of Kendall that most people never see. The question that follows her everywhere is deceptively simple. When will she have kids? Narrator. It's a question that taps into universal fears, desires, and hopes. A question that reminds us that even in a life filled with glamour, wealth, and fame, there are moments of doubt, wonder, and deeply human longing. Today, we're going to go inside Kendall's world, her upbringing, her career, her fears, and her dreams, to discover how she truly sees herself in the journey toward motherhood. Fade into a sun-dappled backyard in Calabasas. Young Kendall, around 8 years old, sits cross-legged on a soft blanket, crayons scattered in front of her. She's drawing a family tree, labeling names carefully: mom, dad, sisters, and herself at the center, already observing the world through thoughtful eyes. Narrator. Kendall's childhood was anything but ordinary. Born into the Kardashian Jenner family, she learned early that life is both a stage and a reality. Cameras were always present. Photographers lingered outside her school events. And yet, behind the flashing lights, there was the normalcy of family. Meals together, quiet nights at home, and conversations that shaped her perspective on life and family. Scene: dinner table, the family laughing, Kris Jenner animatedly telling a story. Kendall listens quietly, observing the dynamics between her sisters, noting how each person's personality influenced the family balance. Kylie is bold, loud, fearless in expressing opinions. Kendall, quieter, reflective, learning to navigate the same world in her own way. Narrator. Even at a young age, Kendall asked questions about the future. She watched her mother and older sisters, wondering about love, life, and eventually children. Flashback scene. Kendall sneaks into the living room late at night, flipping through old photo albums. She sees images of her mother holding her younger siblings, the smiles on faces, the intimacy captured in fleeting moments. She touches the photos gently, feeling a curiosity she doesn't yet have the words for. Kendall's young voice almost whispered to herself, "I wonder what it's like to have a little one to hold, to teach them things, to watch them grow." Narrator. These moments planted seeds, subtle, quiet, and unspoken, that would later grow into the questions she faces now. The longing for family, the desire for children, and the tension between her future ambitions and private dreams. Cut to Kendall at age 13, walking into her first professional photo shoot in Los Angeles. The photographer gives direction. Flashes capture her every move. Assistants bustle about. Kendall smiles, poised, professional, but her eyes reveal the inner dialogue. This is exciting, but is this what I want forever? Am I building the life I want, or the life people expect me to have? Narrator. Her teenage years were a balancing act. On one hand, she was becoming a household name, a model in demand. On the other, she was growing up under intense scrutiny, always aware of how her decisions, even small ones, would ripple publicly. Scenes depict late-night FaceTime calls with friends, where they discuss everything from crushes to dreams of having families someday. Kendall journaling in dimly lit rooms, reflecting on life. I wonder if I'll ever have kids. Will I be too focused on work? Too caught up in this world to have a family of my own? Family gatherings with nieces and nephews running around, laughter and chaos reminding her of what life outside of modeling might feel like. Narrator. It was during these formative years that the tension first emerged, between career ambition and personal life, between public expectation and private desire. She was learning that life doesn't pause, and the questions about family could not be ignored forever. The scene shifts to New York Fashion Week. Kendall walks the runway in a high fashion show. The crowd is silent in awe, flashes of cameras firing in rapid succession. The music is loud, the energy electric, but Kendall's mind is elsewhere. Narrator. As her career skyrocketed, Kendall's thoughts turned inward. She traveled constantly, living in hotels, planes, and show venues, always performing, always measured. Scene: Kendall in her hotel room Paris night. She sits on the bed, scrolling through family photos on her phone. Images of friends with children, sisters celebrating birthdays, quiet home moments. She sighs. Kendall, voiceover. I love what I do, but I also wonder if I'm putting off the things I really want. Kids, family, someday. But when is that someday? Narrator. Even amidst glamour, fame, and success, the questions persisted. The inner conflict was real. How to balance professional achievement with deeply personal dreams. At this pace, with full cinematic scene development, dialogue, inner monologues, flashbacks, and descriptive imagery, we are building a script that can exceed 20,000 words. Each subsequent section, major twist, emotional peak, climax, and aftermath, will be fully expanded with conversations, journal excerpts, internal conflict, cinematic moments, and psychology-based insights. The camera fades in from a soft black screen to a cozy, quiet cafe in Beverly Hills. Afternoon sunlight filters through large windows, casting warm light across polished wooden tables. Kendall sits at a corner table, hands wrapped around a cup of tea. Her expression is contemplative, almost pensive. Across from her sits a longtime friend, someone who has known her since her early modeling days. They sip tea, watch people pass outside, the hum of conversation around them. Friend. Kendall, can I ask you something serious? Kendall tilts her head, intrigued but cautious. Friend. Do you ever think about having kids? I mean, not just like in theory, but really emotionally. Do you ever picture it? Kendall stirs her tea slowly, her gaze distant. Kendall, I've imagined it, sure. Sometimes in dreams. But it always felt like a chapter for later. Something I'd write after everything else was perfect. Narrator. For Kendall, perfection had been a lifelong pursuit. Perfection in career, in public perception, in her relationships, and in her life choices. But in this quiet cafe, a small, profound realization begins to take root. Life doesn't wait for perfect timing. Flashback montage. Kendall in Paris, backstage at Fashion Week, sitting alone while models laugh and prepare. Scrolling through social media, seeing friends announce pregnancies, weddings, milestones she had yet to reach. Her reflection in a mirror in Milan whispered, "Am I waiting too long?" Friend. It's not about timing. It's about readiness, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. You'll know when it feels right. Kendall pauses, the words sinking in. She smiles faintly, almost a revelation forming. Kendall, softly. Maybe it's not about timing at all. Maybe it's about being ready, in my heart. The camera pans outside the cafe window. A mother walks by holding her child's hand, the sound of laughter echoing. Kendall watches, a soft smile forming, a quiet resolve. Narrator. This is the twist in Kendall's story. The world wants a date, a schedule, an answer. But for her, the answer is far more personal. It's not the when, it's the how, the feeling, and the readiness to embrace the unknown with love and courage. The scene shifts to Kendall's home in Calabasas. Evening descends, and soft ambient light fills the living room. Kendall sits curled up on a plush rug, journal in hand. The camera moves slowly around her, capturing the quiet intimacy of the moment. Narrator. Away from the flash of cameras, the pressure of public expectation, and the constant scrutiny, Kendall confronts her deepest fears and desires. Motherhood is no longer just an abstract concept. It is becoming a personal vision, fragile yet undeniable. Kendall writes aloud in her journal. I want to have kids one day. I want to hold them, to teach them, to laugh with them. But I'm scared. Scared I won't balance it all. Scared I won't be enough for them, for me. She pauses, looking out the window at the twilight sky. Stars begin to twinkle faintly. Kendall. But maybe fear is part of the journey. Maybe that's what makes it real. Narrator. Fear in Kendall's story is not weakness. It is a guide. It signals care, responsibility, and reflection. Her emotional peak is the moment she accepts vulnerability as part of the process, understanding that motherhood isn't a formula. It's a feeling, a choice, and a leap of faith. Visuals. Close-up of Kendall's pen moving across the page. Family photographs lining the mantel. Silent witnesses to her reflection. A slow-motion shot of Kendall looking out the window, blending her reflection with the twilight sky, a visual metaphor for merging her present self with the person she wants to become. The camera cuts to a softly lit interview setting. Kendall sits facing the lens, the Los Angeles skyline behind her. A single spotlight illuminates her face, giving a cinematic, intimate feel. Narrator. After years of reflection, of uncertainty, and of quiet observation, Kendall finally addresses the question that has followed her relentlessly. Kendall, speaking directly, calmly, and sincerely. I see myself having kids. Eventually. Not tomorrow, not next week. But when it feels right. When my heart says yes, and I know I can give them everything I have. I don't know the exact timing, but